Okay, so I'm Tyler Powell. I'm the author of the play Warriors in the Talking It Out Festival. And if you want to learn more about the play and the festival, listen to this conversation. When did I fall in love with theater, and why do I want to be part of the theater world? I always I kind of just always did theater, even when I was in elementary school, starting in the third grade. I was like putting shows together, and I remember we did one based on the myth of Cyclops, and I was probably in like third grade, and I just continued. It was just it seemed like I guess it seemed like a natural thing. I started writing, I guess, in high school and submitting to a high school literary magazine. And I think that it really became an obsession with me when I was about maybe 28, 29. And I just decided that that was what I wanted to do with my life. And so I did. That's when, and I began writing every day. And I've been writing, and that was probably around 1976. And I've had some breaks in there because I was busy with work, and I had a pretty active career in the non-writing world. But I did get back to it really intensely about 8 years ago, and writing every day. To me, the theater experience is unique because that is an art form that really takes place in the minds of the audience. And if I can reach that mind, then I feel like I've done my job. I think it differs varied on the play. Sometimes I start out with a prompt that I get from a theater. We want to play looking, such and such a thing. We want to play based on Greek mythology, or we want to play based on a certain African folktale, or we want, whatever it is. That's one way. And another way is, I think, people in my life that have really resonated with me, I want to tell their story. And so I tell their story, and then they're camouflaged in the body of characters, but it's really the story of people I know. I think also mainly what I really like to do, and I believe in doing, is to write about things that I have a passion for. And one of those things, well, there are two things are my recent plays. I found out several years ago, maybe about 5 years ago, that about 4 million Africans perished resisting the slave trade. And this was like another Holocaust that, you don't really hear about very much. And some of the African Americans believed that their African brothers simply sold them. But actually, there was a lot of fighting going on from the early 1400s until sometime in the 1800s. The British banned the slave trade, I think, in 1807, but it was still going on covertly after that. So I wanted to tell that story. So I've written 3 plays now about based in Africa, or about Africans trying to become free. And the other thing was, of course, the play similar to the play Warriors, and I've written a couple of plays about veterans that have PTSD. And that followed an experience I had at the Veterans Hospital where a veteran was just throwing a fit because he thought he had been shown women's glasses. And so I thought, well, there's probably a play here, you know, and this is something that we need to discuss. Maybe it's already been discussed, but maybe I can shed some light on it because I'm a veteran myself. And I had an experience in a veterans hospital where this veteran was really acting out, throwing a fit because he believed he'd been shown women's glasses. And I thought, well, this guy probably has PTSD. And that was really the origin of that play. And I cared about this because it's a serious issue among veterans and among the population generally. And among the population generally, there are a lot of people that commit suicide, and sometimes they haven't gotten the help they needed. So I was able to show in the play Warriors that there is a therapy for PTSD. They were calling for plays that involved mental health, and I've had some experience personally with mental health, and I also have, you know, I was working on this play and some other plays that are the same, you know, of the same ilk. So I thought it would be appropriate for talking it out. The idea of the play came from this incident in the Veterans Hospital where I was in the waiting room and saw this veteran who was having a kind of a fit over being shown women's glasses, crying out, you know, I'm a man, not a woman, and so on. And it was very serious. I'm maybe not portraying that correctly, but it was very serious. And so I thought, you know, that this is probably a subject that I could relate to, and then I could maybe shed some light on and let people know about a therapy, and maybe you know, just convey that feeling that I had. And I've actually done probably like maybe 3 or 4 plays on this topic. And one is a monologue, and one is one act, and one is this 10-minute play, Warriors. It's a circular play. It begins at the end, where the veteran is trying the therapy. And this is a therapy where you, if you have like this really traumatic event that you're like scared of, and but it keeps, you know, you keep having the nightmares, you keep waking up at night, you keep you know, having disturbed sleep and so forth. And one way to confront that and to sort of lessen the effect of that traumatic event, and in this case, the veteran was in Iraq, and they hit an IED, which was they hide them in the trees so that when you hit them, they blow up in your face. So he had the guy next to him who was his buddy, had his face blown off in this incident. And of course, my character, Thomas, was very traumatized by that. So it's really his story. And it starts out where he's found out about the therapy, and he's trying the therapy really for the first time. And the therapy is called prolonged exposure. And you go back and you relive this event, and you record, you know, what you're seeing and how you feel on your phone or some other device. And then you play it back and listen to it, and then you record again and so forth. And you do this repeatedly, and it helps you really, face the thing and become familiar with it in a way so that it isn't as terrifying as it once was. So that's what he's doing in the beginning of the play, the first part of the play. And then the second part of the play is how he got there. And this scene is, it starts just after he had his big blow up in the waiting room outside the optical shop over being shown women's glasses. And he was grabbed by the security guard, and they took him to the emergency room. Not all of this is in the play, but they took him to the emergency room, and then they referred him to Dr. Goslin, who's a psychiatrist, for counseling. And he's very resistant to the counseling. And he does receive counseling. And one of the things she tells him is, sometimes, asking for help takes just as much courage as going into combat. And so then after they have their session, and the last part of the play picks up where the first part left off, and he's finishing doing the therapy with his phone, and he calls the Veterans Hospital and asks for another appointment. He apologizes. He walked out. He asks for another appointment with the doctor because he wants to continue with this therapy and with this help. I want the audience to learn about, I guess, this issue. We have an issue with suicide. We have an issue with veterans. And a lot of the veterans committing suicide are older veterans. They're not all from our most recent wars. But, I want them to be aware of this issue, to have empathy, to support veterans however they can. I belong to an organization called Forgotten Veterans, and they have a warehouse near where I live, and we go there and we pack boxes for veterans with things they need. Sometimes there are treats and candy and stuff, and things like razor blades and shaving cream, and for the women, of course, they're boxes for women, and that's a different set of supplies. And these go. It's called Forgotten Soldiers because these go to soldiers who do not get any mail. They got no mail from home, but they receive these boxes, and they're very grateful for it. And they write back letters, thanking us for the box that they got. I want the audience to really connect with this issue and maybe find a place in their heart for veterans. That's what I was hoping to do. When you don't write something, you're not really aware of what it's going to be. You just write. And for me, once I have the characters in mind, then I hear them speaking, and then I just write down whatever they say, and so that's sort of the process that I go through. And later on, I can go back and fix it. And I was doing that this morning. I was fixing a play that I thought I was finished with, and then I did a rewrite of it, and then I'm going through now and fixing all the non sequiturs and little things that don't fit and so forth. So it's a process, I think the first thing probably is, they want to be entertained, and maybe they have an interest in the topic of mental health. Maybe they want to explore that topic, and maybe a lot of times people will tune in because they know one of the playwrights, or they know one of the actors, or something like that. So they want to see what those people are up to. I don't know, why does anybody watch a play? I guess it's there, and it's I think it's primarily for entertainment. I think it sheds light on the issue of mental health, and this is something that has been more in the past than right now, maybe, but has been kind of a taboo subject, and things that people didn't want to talk about, didn't want their colleagues to know about because it might affect their job prospects, and didn't want their family to know about because it might make them uncomfortable. That's one of the reasons why it's good to explore this topic. That's where you and wherever you live, that's where you go to the theater. So live theater is something that is an experience that you don't get anywhere else. They say that when you're watching a show, that the heartbeat of the audience becomes synchronized, and some people think that's because they're watching the same thing, but I don't think that. I think that that our minds and our psychic energy can go out to the end of the universe, and it will affect other people. And so I think that's a little bit of what's going on in theater. But you're having a shared experience that you don't have if you're sitting in a room watching a screen. So that to me is one of the importance of local theaters. It's also, that's where a lot of actors and directors get their start. And, it gets them started working in theater. I'm Tyler Powell. My play is Warriors in the Talking It Out Festival. And I hope that people will enjoy the play.